I'm MaRee with Event Links TV, and I'm here with Max Smith of CACCI. Can you tell us a little bit about your position here?
Okay, well, CACCI is the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and that's an organization that works with Caribbean-based businesses and the community to really empower them economically, politically, in every way possible so they can have better lives. Pretty much. And actually today we're having the Census 2010 rally, which is really an initiative that CACCI does with the New York State Census Bureau to build, to get folks mobilized so that they fill out the forms and turn them in. Because what we've been experiencing is that in a lot of communities of color, particularly in Brooklyn right now, we're lagging far behind everybody else in the state. Yesterday we were at 34% in terms of our census participation rate, whereas Manhattan is at 45, and the rest of the country, many parts are over 60%, so we're far behind. And what's really, really frightening about that is that we're the communities that have the greatest need, the need for programs and resources. We're the ones who are not filling out the census and returning it. And what happens if you don't fill out the census, if you don't return it, if you don't get counted, and then the government can't give your community the appropriate amount of resources for health care, for education, for affordable housing, and for every single program that you can think of that we need in the community, the census impacts that.
Okay, now what exactly is your role within CACCI?
Oh, well, my role is really to communicate CACCI's message and the work that we're doing. Right. So my role is really to get to media and to let them spread the word. So really it's about contacting newspapers and television stations and radio stations and getting our representatives on air so they can speak about why it's important for folks to fill out the census and return it, get articles, op-eds in the newspaper so people can read about the message of why it matters.
Have you been affected? Have you been successful in getting those op-ed pieces in the paper?
Yeah, we have actually. We're working very closely with a number of the local community papers like New York Carib News, Caribbean Voice, Caribbean Life, the Haitian Times. There are quite an array of them. Black Star News. There's so many. New York Echo, New York Griot. So there are lots of community papers, and really, I think what's really effective about those community papers is that they reach more deeply into the community than, say, something like the New York Daily News, which of course is important, and we definitely try to reach them also. But a lot of times people, let's say in East Flatbush or people in Midwood or the different communities, Crown Heights, they tune in to the local papers that reflect their heritage. And you have a lot of immigrant populations in Brooklyn, so they may be tuning in to a paper that's directed at Jamaicans or directed at Trinidadians and so forth, or directed at Latinos. So we try to reach those papers. And in addition to reaching out to media, we also, what CACCI's been doing very, very aggressively is to reach out to community organizations, to reaching out to the churches, trying to get folks, our representatives, into the churches on Sundays so they can spread the message. You have a captive audience, and really when people are in church, they're much more receptive. Right. So we've been going into churches, we've been getting our partners who are members of those churches to speak out. We've been going into housing projects. We've been going into any kind of venue that you can think of where people are gathered. We try to be there. And so we're just really trying to get the message out. We're trying to distribute literature on the streets and so forth, at cultural affairs and social events and all of that. Just really, really working really hard because it's so important. And I think what people really have to understand is that New York City has $25 billion at stake, $25 billion that we could lose out on in terms of programs and services. And if we don't fill out the forms, we're not going to get that. And that's $25 billion a year for the next 10 years. And, so if you don't fill out the form, if you're not counted, each year you represent $3,000 as an individual that the community loses out on.
Over 10 years.
Yeah, and then over 10 years, it's $30,000. So we can't afford that loss. We can't afford that loss, and we can't, especially in these economic times where everything has been cut already. If we don't get those programs, we're going to be decimated. Yeah. And so we really, really have to understand that, and we have to think the same way we got out, a lot of us, and voted. Many of us voted for Barack Obama, and some people voted otherwise, but people were mobilized in the 2008 presidential election to go out and vote. this is really a vote. It's a vote for community. It's saying, I want those resources. I need better education. I need better health here. I need programs that will work to empower my community and to give us the economic resources that we need. And that's what the Census 2010 is all about.
You sound like a pro at this. How long have you been in your position with CACCI?
Well, I've just been doing this work for CACCI for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Weeks? You've done your homework.
But I've been doing communications for a good number of years now.
You're a pro. I noticed.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming down here. I mean, this is so important. You're what we depend on you guys, because if we don't have you, really, we're just talking to ourselves. You guys amplify our message, and we're so appreciative of Caribbean Professionals Synergy Network and Event Links. You guys are wonderful. Thank you.
We're wonderful. You're wonderful. Thank you. This is MaRee from eventlinks.com. Thank you.